What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another Prizepicks NBA player props video. This one going to be breaking it down, giving you guys a 6-pick flex that I already locked in myself, that I already sent into my VIP for this NBA slate tonight. If you're wondering why I give 6-pick flexes on the channel, it is because they are optimal for long-term return on investment. If you are hitting at a 55% hit rate on your individual props and you are playing all 6-man flexes, you're going to get a 7% return on investment, as to oppose if you were playing 2-mans. You're not going to get a return on investment in the positive at all. If you're hitting at a 60% hit rate, you're going to be getting a 66% return on investment if you do play all 6-man flexes. So that is why I continue to provide you guys with this free value on 6-pick flexes. The reason I continue to give you guys fantasy score props is because I can't really give you guys non-fantasy score props that have good value. If you are tailing someone on Prizepicks where their plays are not getting bumped consistently, they are not getting good value, because Prizepicks is very good at what they do and they bump plays like crazy. So this is the very first ticket that I locked in this morning and sent in. I can't promote any of these plays to you guys because they've all been bumped. For those of you that don't know how these props apps work, they're going to bump the plays, right? So if there's good value, like if Zach LaVine's favored to go over 19.5, they're going to take away that value from you guys, because if they didn't, they wouldn't be in business. They're going to lose so much money, they have to adjust the lines, right? And your job playing on the apps is to beat the bumps. So we'll go through this ticket, but I just want to let you guys know the reason I don't give you non-fantasy score props is because I want you to be able to tail. And if I'm giving you these videos later, after all the bumps, the value's been taken out, what's really the point of that? I could come on and give you guys a ticket every day and then upload the video and all the plays are bumped and go, get my VIP. You should have been in the VIP. The plays got bumped. If you want me to do that, I could easily do that. If you are looking to get serious and you want to beat those bumps, the VIP member package is an option that I do offer. That's going to give you access to these tickets as soon as I place them. So this example is a ticket where pretty much every play's got bumped. I believe Jordan Poole is still available on the board on his assists. If we pull him up, he is still available. So there's a free pick for you if you'd like to lock that in. But then we go through the rest of the ticket. The next play was Zach LaVine over 19.5 points. He is now at 20.0. So that would do me no good if I was promoting that to you, right? You can't play the play where the value was. Nikola Vucevic under 11.5 rebounds. If we pull him up, he's been bumped as well, 11.0. You can't get that value, the half-edge value. Prizepicks has taken it out. Scotty Barnes over 3-point prop isn't even on the board anymore, which is a key indicator you got some really good value on the 3-point props specifically. They will just take them off the board on 3-point props, right? So this is just, I've been doing this a long time, so I just know they're going to take it off the board if you got really good value on 3-point props, right? You got Anthony Edwards, assists. He's also been bumped. So no value in the prop anymore, right? Like, I can't help you there. And then Gobert rebounds, 12.5. He's been bumped, right? So I can't promote these plays to you guys. What's the point? You can't play the ticket, right? So the reason I do fantasy score props on the channel for the free content is because you can actually play, right? I want to actually provide free value. I want you guys to be able to tail these plays. These are plays that I'm playing myself. And there's an example, right? Like I locked this in at, I'm on the East Coast, 11:30 a.m. None of the plays are available, right? And I'm playing these plays, right? I'm not just coming on the channel giving you guys plays and not backing it with my own money. If you've been in the VIP and you're watching the content, you already know that, you know. Every day I'm sending these picks in. Every day they're getting bumped. Every day we got to beat these apps before the bumps, right? Yesterday we had a sweep on Underdog. That was the big winner. I do provide picks for 5 different apps. And this is another example. You couldn't get any of these lines on Prizepicks. Van Vliet was at, I can tell you off the top of my head, Van Vliet was at 16.5 points on Prizepicks. The value on the over was when he was at 15.5. Bam Adebayo was at 4.0 assists on Prizepicks. They had already bumped him down. Jalen Green was at 17.0 first points on Prizepicks. They had already bumped him down, right? So you can see I was on the under 17.5 points for Jalen Green, under on 4.5 assists for Bam Adebayo, and over 15.5. Prizepicks had him at 16.5. So, if you'd like me to provide you with non-fantasy score props on the channel every day and then have them get bumped and just say you should be in the VIP, I could certainly do that, but I don't see the point in that. I want you to actually be able to tail and be providing you guys. I provide a lot of free value on the channel on fantasy score props so you can tail, and I provide even more value over in the VIP if you want to get access to all my tickets as soon as I place them. Like I said, this is a perfect example. Scotty Barnes isn't even on the board anymore. Like, it was a good prop. If you can get Scotty Barnes over 1.5 3 points made on any other app, it's a good prop to be taken. And Jordan Poole, 3.5 assists under is another play I'm on. There's a free pick for you on the channel. Add it to the list. But I'm going to be giving you guys a specific 6-pick flex, all fantasy scores that I'm running here tonight. Already locked in, already sent it to the VIP members. Hopefully you enjoy the content. If you do, would be greatly appreciated. If you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. It is free. It takes 2 seconds to do. It does greatly help me out. I'll be helping you guys out with these videos for free all NBA season long. And let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about it. Got 6 fantasy score props, some inflated, some too low in my opinion. So we will go game by game. Break it down as we always do. And the first game that I'd like to discuss is going to be this New York Knicks-Washington Wizards game. This game has a 234 over-under. It is a 12-point spread in favor of the New York Knicks. Talked about yesterday's video how I don't like to predict blowouts. However, if this game is going to turn into a blowout, it's going to help the picks that I'm going with here tonight because we're going with 2 unders. 2 lines I think are too inflated on the New York Knicks side. Both their stars. The New York Knicks played last night. They are on the second half of a back-to-back. Just last night, Jalen Brunson played 37 minutes. Julius Randle played 34 minutes. They are now going to be playing again the second leg of a back-to-back. And in my research earlier, these 2 guys have been producing at much lower rates on the second half of back-to-backs. So it's just something I want to get out of the way. Right now, that all goes into my projections and stuff. But Jalen Brunson on the season is putting up 1.16 fantasy points per minute in the Prizepicks fantasy scoring format. He's playing in the mid-30s. He's putting up 42.8 fantasy points per game. That all adds up, right? 35 minutes per game, 1.16 per minute rate. That's going to put him oftentimes in the low 40s, upper 30s. And like I said, with the second half of a back-to-back, I do have him projected in the upper 30s here tonight. Prizepicks says I'm a little bit too high. This Wizards matchup's a great matchup. They've been like terrible defensively. Guys, if you don't think Prizepicks knows this and adjusts their lines, like, you know, you're a little late to the party as far as, like, Prizepicks is very good at setting their projections, right? So if I were Prizepicks and I knew the average user is going to log in, like, right, the average user is going to log in, they're going to see Jalen Brunson's playing the Wizards, and they're going to click his over, right? You look at his, maybe, I mean, judging by this new popular tab that Prizepicks has added in the plays that I see every day, oftentimes, like today I showed you 2 picks that I actually think are good on this board that I'm seeing people take. But oftentimes I'm seeing a lot of last 5 charts with a lot of green. Which tells me people are logging into the Prizepicks app and looking at the last 5 and seeing which are green and taking them. That's not something I would advise, guys. Like, the last 5 charts really don't matter. I like the under here on Jalen Brunson. He's gone under in 4 of the last 5. Did I even know that prior to picking him? No. Like, that's not part of my process at all. I pull it up as a visual for you guys on the videos, just as a visual. Like, literally, that's it. But do I care that he's gone under in 4 of the last 5? No, like, I really don't care. Every matchup's different. Every situation is different. Like I said, they're on the second half of a back-to-back here. I've seen Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle's numbers, though, be a lot worse in the second half of a back-to-back, and the lines are just too inflated, right, guys? Like, in this case, both these guys have been going under pretty consistently, this line. They're adjusting it to the matchup, right? This Wizards team's really bad defensively. We already discussed that. But I'm still liking the under. It's too inflated, right? So few little stats, like I always tell you guys, you know, everything that's going into my thought process here as far as these 2 guys struggling on back-to-backs. Like, I can give you some final stats here as to what they're doing. Jalen Brunson on games with no rest is averaging in the upper 30s in fantasy points, which is right where I have him projected again here tonight. I've got him not even breaking 40 from a base projection aspect. Now, you're going to hear me talk about this a lot because I want to explain it. Like last night, we took Anthony Davis and Luka Doncic under, right? Their ceilings are way higher than where the line's set, but their floors are way lower too, right? So sometimes you guys are going to have bad games, that's floor, good games, ceiling. Base projection's right in the middle, right? So Prizepicks is setting a base projection for us to take either the over or the under. That's how this works. I have Jalen Brunson getting like 38, 39 fantasy points tonight. So the average person is going to come in the comments and go, yeah, but Jalen Brunson goes, or I'm sorry, the Wizards stink on defense. Yes, they do. They stink on defense. That's, we can all agree there. The Wizards aren't a very good basketball team. It's a 12-point spread. The Knicks are favored by 12. That's correct, right? But Jalen Brunson's line set at 44.5. I have him projected in the upper 30s. He can still have a very good game and stay under this, as he's done the last 5 guys. I mean, look at the last 5, 41, 43, and 42 fantasy points. Like, you look at the box score, last time out, as far as like what he put up, that's going to be looking pretty friendly. As a matter of fact, I meant to pull that up for you guys, which we'll get a visual here as far as the box score is concerned. But it's all factored in the projection. Same thing is going to be said for Julius Randle. We pull up his last 5 here. He's barely cleared this in the 2 games he's gone over. But as far as like the game logs, when we actually pull up the game logs and we get a visual as to how they're doing it, once again, this is a game last time out, literally last time out, Jalen Brunson went under his fantasy score, right? We pull up his game log. He played 37 minutes. He dropped 30 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds. He had 2 turnovers. You look at that, that's a good game, right? But his fantasy score is too high. Like, I'm kind of being a little long-winded here, but just people, they don't think or they're not educated or they're learning, which is fine. I've been doing this a long time. Just explaining, like, we have to take the base projection and we have to take the over the under, right? And we're taking lines that are a little too high. Brunson, once again, is a guy that can go up there and put up 50 plus. That's where his ceiling's at. I've got that in my projection, right? So we can clear this. Randle, same story can be said. He's at 45.5. I've got him in the lower 40s. So I got him getting like 40 fantasy points, right? That's going to put him under by 5 fantasy points. That's pretty relevant. His ceiling is 50 plus once again, but that's like a really good game. So the odds of him staying under 45.5 are larger than him going over 45.5. It's pretty simple. Last thing I'll say is it's a 12-point spread. Those of you that are scared of blowouts, we have unders in this, so this is going to help us. If they're not playing in the 4th quarter because the Wizards stink and they're down by 50, that's fantastic. Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are going to find themselves on the bench early. We're going to cash, okay? So second half of a back-to-back, some tired legs here for these guys. Both just played last night, and like I said, they've both not produced at a high of a rate on the second half of back-to-backs this year. Some guys, it doesn't affect them as much. In general, though, back-to-backs are going to affect you a little bit. Both these guys haven't been producing quite as high on those back-to-backs. So I got them both projected under. We're going with the under on those based on where Prizepicks has the line set at, right? And then my next one, we're talking about an over here. This is simply too low. It's going to be the Chicago Bulls taking on the Toronto Raptors. A 227 over under, 2-point spread in favor of Chicago. So the game's expected to stay close. The Chicago Bulls are starting to give Zach LaVine a lot more minutes. He's a guy that's been on and off the trade block all year. But we're finally starting to see him ramp back up from injury. Last few times out, 41, 35, 36, and 35 minutes respectively. So he's playing in the mid to upper 30s. We look at his fantasy point per minute production on the season as far as what LaVine's going to do for us here. 0.97 fantasy points per minute, so it's a little under 1 fantasy point per minute. He's putting up 35 fantasy points per game, and Prizepicks has him set too low. He's got the second highest usage of small forwards tonight, trailing only RJ Barrett. And Prizepicks has him in the low 30s. I've got him in the upper 30s. We look at this per minute production, right? He's like putting up 1 fantasy point per minute, 35 fantasy points per game. He's getting 35 minutes per game. That tells us, he should be priced probably right at 35, right? You would think. We go over to Prizepicks, and he's not priced there. He's priced in the low 30s. 32.5. This is too low. Last couple games out, he hasn't got the job done. I will be the first to tell you Zach LaVine is a guy that can be a little bit scoring reliant, which I don't like in the fantasy scoring department, but when they're mispriced this much, you just got to take it. As you saw at the beginning of the video, I like Zach LaVine's points over tonight, and if he's going to play in the mid-30s, oftentimes he's going to be surpassing this. So look at the last couple games. 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 17 points. 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, 10 points. Pretty well-rounded player, actually, in these rebounds and assists as of late, which is fantastic. We would really like to see those blocks and steals tick up for us. If he would tonight, that'd be great. But Long story short, he's in the low 30s. I've got him projected to go out there and put up in the upper 30s tonight. This has been a fantastic matchup as well for opposing um, small forwards because Toronto's giving up over the 32 fantasy point per minute mark. I'm sorry, over 32 fantasy points to opposing small forwards, which is right where his line set it. They're giving up over 5 rebounds, over 7 field goals per game, essentially. And then also, Levine's been involved in quite a few blowouts, which is all factored in the projections on my end, and it's showing that when the games stay close, he's in the upper 30s. It's those games that are turning to blowouts where we're seeing him kind of drop down into the low 30s oftentimes this season. So 2-point spread, as long as the game stays close, he should crush this one. For pick number 3, we're rocking with the over on Zach LaVine. And in the last 3, we're talking about some more inflated lines once again. Guys with ceilings much higher, so it's not going to be fun for you if but I don't care. My process is, there's no feelings involved in my process. It's all systems I've put a lot of hours into developing so that I can quickly detect value and I don't have to be taking forever. I know all that goes into it, right? So Chet Holmgren's the next guy. 244 over under in this game. Massive total. But it's been a pretty terrible matchup for opposing centers versus the Utah Jazz. As far as their fantasy points per game giving up to opposing centers here, Utah is the 6th worst matchup in the Prizepicks fantasy scoring format for opposing centers, right? So they've been really limiting opposing centers production. And once again, that's all factored in my projections, the total, the pace, all that stuff. I know this is a massive total, and we're targeting a guy that produces at a pretty high rate as well, but I still have him going under where Prizepicks has him set. Chet Holmgren, 1.29 fantasy points per minute. He's putting up 37.5, playing 30 minutes, 21% usage rate. You look at the rotation for this OKC Thunder team, though. Chet Holmgren, he's been in the low 30s in minutes lately. After he was kind of playing like 34, 33, 35 in a lot of games earlier. They've now played him only 32, 30, and 33 the last couple times out. So if he's going to be right around 30 minutes, I'm leaning under here for sure. And my projections, once again, weigh in all the stuff we're talking about, right? This matchup's been really terrible for opposing centers, the Utah Jazz. So even though the game total's high, there's a good chance it's Jalen Williams, Lou Dort, Josh Giddey, Shai Gilgeous, etc. that are contributing against the Jazz, not the center position, because John Collins, Lauri Markkanen, this defense, they can call on Walker Kessler off the bench if they so choose, has done a good job at slowing down opposing centers. So Chet Holmgren, the next guy that, once again, we're talking about a guy who's priced too high on Prizepicks, 38.5. This actually got bumped up from an original line that I still liked the under on at 37.5, so I locked it in at 38.5 as well. He's only averaging 33.7 over the last 5. Once again, every matchup's different. Every situation is different. We talked about that back-to-back with the Knicks. I don't care about the last 5, but at the same time, kind of factors in, his averages and such, all the stuff we're discussing, right? So, Chet Holmgren, priced too high as far as my latest projection on him. All the stuff that we discussed, right, with the how the opponent's giving up fantasy points to his position. Utah is giving up only 28 fantasy points per game, only 5 field goals, only about 6 rebounds to opposing centers. So I've got him in the low 30s here tonight. I think he ends with like 31 fantasy points, 32, 33, like he has been over his last 5. You can see on the average. Prizepicks has him at 38.5. His ceiling is 40 plus. He can go over. This is how this works. I'm going to continue to kind of throw the exact numbers out to you guys so you can understand my thought process here, right? So Brunson and Randall are too high. Levine's too low. Chet's too high. And then we have another crazy good game environment that I'm taking under. Is that, the comment section is going to be going, this game has a huge total. Yes, it does. Prizepicks, guess what? They know people are logging into their app every day and thinking that same mindset, and they have these lines inflated tonight here. It's the Aaron Fox, it's Domantas Sabonis, both studs, both great fantasy point producers, but Prizepicks has priced them up too high tonight for their base projection. De'Aaron Fox, 1.27 fantasy points per minute, 35 fantasy points per game. He's putting up 46.3 fantasy points per game, but when you look at Fox, he's a guy that can be a little bit up and down, so I think that's a lot to do with the games where he really goes off, which he's certainly capable of doing so. in this game environment. But once again, Prizepicks has adjusted for that. Domantas Sabonis, same thing. Another very high fantasy point per minute producer, but too high. 1.38 fantasy points per minute. He's putting up 51.4 fantasy points per game, 35 minutes per game, 22% usage rate. So that's right about where Prizepicks has him set here tonight. But even though this is a high total, we once again, kind of similar to what we discussed with this Thunder Jazz team, right? It's a high total, but they're bad matchups for these two positions. The two positions the Pacers have done a good job of slowing down has been the center position. They got that Miles Turner defense down low. And the point guard position, Tyrese Halliburton at the point. He's expected to be out here tonight, which could just increase the blowout potential once again. And we're taking unders. So for those of you that like to predict blowouts, if these games turn into blowouts and these starters sit the whole fourth quarter, it's going to help our picks here tonight. We got Fox, Sabonis to round things out, and both of them are priced up really high on Prizepicks. Prizepicks has Fox at 45.5. He's cleared this the last 2 times out. Barely. You look at his 3 times prior, right? He only put up 34, 29, and 36. All in, and 2 of those in what you would call like cupcake easy matchups. Detroit and Charlotte are not the top 2 defensive teams in the league, right? He only put up 29 and 36. My little stats and projections to round things out here. Indiana's only given up like 30 fantasy points per game to point guards, starting point guards, I should say. So you can see like this chart's talking about per game at the position overall that I pull up here. But then you also have to factor in like the starters, the bench production, all that stuff, right? So Fox, another under that I like, and then Domantas Sabonis, another under that I like. He's been clearing this, but barely, 52. He had that one game we went off for 72. He's certainly capable. Fox's ceiling is 50 plus. His floor is all the way down into the 20s, actually, as far as Sabonis is concerned. Got him getting in the upper 40s here. Prizepicks has him in the 50s, as you can see. His floor is going to be right around, down around 40. His ceiling's all the way up to 70, as you can see, as Detroit. But we think he's going to end the game with like 45 fantasy points. Prizepicks has him at 50. So, guys, the fantasy score props on Prizepicks are set very appropriately. You're very rarely just going to be sitting there and cashing without having a little bit of a sweat. But when you're able to get guys projected like 4, 5, 6 fantasy points off, it's a pretty big deal, and that's kind of where some of these guys are priced here tonight for me. So, quick little review here, I suppose. 1, Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle. I know they're in a great matchup against the Wizards, but they're on the second half of a back-to-back. Some tired legs. They've both performed not quite as good in those back-to-backs. We also have a 12-point spread, which for those of you that like blowouts, if the game turns into a blowout, being that we're targeting unders if they don't play the fourth, that's going to help us. It goes both ways when you're taking overs. We had some overs last night where the game turned into a blowout, right? That's going to help us. We got Mr. Zach LaVine as well, and his price is too low. Talked about his minutes are starting to ramp up here, right? For this Bulls team, he's been on and off the trade block, but now he's starting to play in the mid-30s. If he plays in the mid-30s, that's going to put him like 35 to 38 fantasy points oftentimes. So they have him priced too low here for us. Chet's too high. Once again, got him in the low 30s. Utah's been really tough on opposing starting centers. They have not been giving up a lot of fantasy points at all. We discussed that. They are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th best team as far as not allowing fantasy points to opposing centers. So even though this game has a massive total, center position not really been the one that they're giving up points to. And then you got Fox and Sabonis. Once again, guys, great game environment, right? But Prizepicks knows this. Prizepicks knows the average user is logging in and looking at a 245 over-under, and they're going, taking the over on Fox and Sabonis. Can they go over? Absolutely. Yes, they can. We saw that last night on my picks, right? But my projection has them getting, for Fox, right around like 40 fantasy points, and for Sabonis, right around 45 fantasy points. It's 5 points too high. They're posting lines based on their ceiling, And like I said, if I was providing lines on an app where I know the average user's just logging in and taking overs a lot, I might set the lines a little bit high sometimes, right? It might be smart so that we have all that action coming in on the over. And yeah, that's all I'll say, right? Makes sense. So last two, we're going with the under and under on these guys. So already sent it to my VIP. I actually locked this in twice because Czech got bumped and I liked him at 37.5. Now we got to 38.5, so I said, why not? I'm going to release it to the public. I'll put 2 units on it. I don't mind backing my plays whatsoever. So my initial ticket that I had sent this into the VIP actually did have Chet at 37. Hopefully it was like not too long after he got bumped up. So hopefully a lot of my members got the line at 38.5 here too, but I got it at both. So I got Chet at 37.5, as you can see here, and I got him at 38.5 because these are my favorite fantasy score props on the channel. Being that he got bumped, and I'm going to come on and back them to you guys. I said, why not put another play on it? 2 units. Always back in the play, right? Not going to promote any props to you on the channel, but I am not playing myself. That's not how I roll, so. That's a 6-pick flex, guys. 6-pick flex. Under 44.5 for Jalen Brunson, under 45.5 for Randall, over for Zach LaVine's 32.5 fantasy score, under Chet Holmgren, under De'Aaron Fox, under Domantas Sabonis. Final recap, Jalen Brunson, I think he ends with like 39 fantasy points if he plays all of his minutes. Julius Randle, I think he ends with like 40 if he plays all of his minutes. Zach LaVine, I think he ends with like 38 if he plays all of his minutes. Chet Holmgren, I think he ends with like 34 if he plays all of his minutes. De'Aaron Fox, I think he ends with like 40 if he plays all of his minutes. Domantas Sabonis, I think he ends with like 45 if he plays all of his minutes. The unders, if the games turn into a blowout, fantastic. If these guys sit on the bench the whole fourth quarter, everyone that has overs is going to be mad. We're going to be counting our money and happy about it, right? 12-point spread in the Knicks-Wizards game. We got a 8.5-point spread in the Kings game. I believe Halliburton must have gotten ruled out because his starting lineups page updated. No promises on that, but that tends to be the case. So I think he's probably out as I'm recording here. I don't have the Twitter pulled up and stuff, but yeah, man, that's the 6-pick flex. Hopefully you enjoyed the content. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. Wishing you all the best of luck on your Prizepicks NBA player props tonight, and we will see you in the next one.